In your presentation, you talked about the fact that Canada is really behind on fintech in that we don't have open banking, we don't have a single regulator. Why do you think policymakers have not managed to close that gap?
I think Canada is behind and has a smaller opportunity because in many ways it's a smaller market. And ultimately, if we're not only a smaller market but also have higher friction, the probability of creating champions is much lower. And that friction comes from regulatory friction, comes from the friction around people moving accounts from one financial institution to another, the hurdles to do that, people's lack of access to their own data. And ultimately, I think if we could reduce that friction by adopting an open banking type movement, by helping regulators be better coordinated, maybe with a single body that could regulate fintech, but again, monitored by the existing regulators in many ways, who have done a great job and kept us out of trouble. I think that would be positive. But I think the key message is we need to reduce the amount of friction for consumer choice in the market.
Another thing people complain about is the lack of unicorns, right?
Yes.
Relatively few and far between in Canada. Is that something that would help?
Having more unicorns?
No. Having that different regulatory landscape
Absolutely.
and banking landscape.
Absolutely. Because, for a lot of services in fintech, for example, when we started with Wealthsimple, it was actually mandated that we have a voice call with every person that opens an account. Now, that type of regulation makes it very hard to scale a digital platform. That said, we worked very closely with the OSC over a very long period of time, and we were able to basically work through that. But if there were ways to accelerate that, that would be extremely helpful.
You mentioned Wealthsimple.
Yes.
Any news on the timing of when you might see an IPO?
Oh, we're still a ways away. But we're very excited. We have over $3 billion of assets on the platform, over 100,000 clients, and we're growing faster than we've ever grown before. A ways
is an indefinite term. A year, a couple of years?
I'd say within the decade.
Sounds like a safe bet. All right. I've been asking everybody at this conference for their view on the market. It's obviously been tremendously volatile in the last month. What do you make of the recent market weakness?
The market has had so little volatility for the last few years that people have just gotten used to things being, stable and up. And, a little zigzagging, I don't think is a bad thing for the markets. I think, it helps create more differentiation between winners and losers. I think in a world of rising interest rates and political uncertainty, you're bound to have more market volatility.
You sit on a number of boards and investment boards, obviously. What do you think from an investment perspective about Canada? How does Canada look right now?
I think Canada is an amazing place. I truly believe that the American dream is alive in Canada like in few other economies in the world. Anybody can come here and succeed. Anybody can come here and get tremendous backing. If you look at the story of Michael Katchen, right? Met us by chance and ended up getting $165 million of backing. That is a true kind of entrepreneur story. And there are many examples like this throughout our ecosystems of kind of entrepreneurs that, proved that they were excellent in their own right and basically convinced us to back them. And, we're working on helping them becoming the next generation of Canadian leaders in financial services.
A lot of them are also in pot right now, a lot of the new Canadian entrepreneurs. What do you think of that frenzy?
It is something I really don't know or understand. It's interesting. We're not investing in the sector.
Why? You think it's frothy? I shouldn't put words in your mouth. But
we tend to not invest in stuff we don't understand.